Hello and welcome to Confidently Wrong, a show by regular dudes talking with confidence about content we have no right to speak about with any kind of authority, but do it anyway. I'm Wesley Nakamura, and as always, I'm joined by award-winning director Brian Redondo and Savon Jones, aka Captain Bonnie. This is episode 198, and we find a lot to like with Alien Earth's Season 1 finale. I'm confident that it's going to be the best show you've ever listened to, and well, hey, if it's not, you can always ask us for a refund.
Incredible!
Hello, gentlemen! What's going on? It's Confidently Wrong. We're back in the studio.
Yeah, I'm having whiplash over here. I'm like, Wes is over
Keep
here,
up.
like,
Keep up, bro.
like just Googling random things, and then all of a sudden starts the show. Like, what are we doing?
Boy, we got to get Savon
Where
out of
are
here.
we?
He's got things to do. He's got book clubs to attend.
I'm with Brian. Oh, goddamn. Hold on. Slow down. Bro, you don't even drink coffee. Where is this coming from?
Hey, you got to keep up.
Wes out here raw dogging life and just has this energy, and I just don't understand.
Keep it moving. I did drink a Celsius. No, what was it? As a Celsius.
A Celsius?
Never mind. You're not raw dogging.
A little energy drink.
Oh, you ain't raw dogging. You doing that hard stuff.
Yeah, you coked up,
the hard
man.
stuff.
You said you don't drink coffee, but you drink Celsius. What the?
I mean, I don't usually drink Celsius. It's in the vending machine. It was calling my name this week. I was falling asleep.
Collard.
Cool. Woo! All right. Let's get into it.
Here.
This is episode 198. We're talking about Alien Earth. So we're revisiting our conversation now that the series has finished. Our first, was it 8 episode first season? I assume they're gonna renew it for a second season if they haven't already, because it was kind of in that number 1, number 2 slot for Hulu streaming for quite a while.
People watching it.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll get some more installments in this. Just in terms of like the second half of the season, maybe overall, what kind of stood out for you? Oh, this is gonna be spoilers. So like, if you haven't finished it and you don't want spoilers, like you gotta come back later. But this is for all the people who tuned in, did the homework, hung out with us. So Alien Earth, tone, pacing, atmosphere. What kind of stood out to you, Sav?
Yeah. Overall, I think the pacing of the show was. I didn't have any major issues with it. I know that was something we talked about before of just, hey, where's the show going? And I was kind of always okay with just we don't really know. Let's just watch and see. They're planting all these seeds. I thought the pacing was fine. I think when you look at the season as a whole, the first half up until episode 5 is, I mean, there's still a lot of shit shows, but it's built up clearly to what we know is going to be a larger collective shit show. And once you kind of get to episode 6, 7, 8, after the flashback episode, I love the pacing. I think things start to really hit the fan in a bad way, in a way that you would expect in any type of Alien franchise, right? You know that this series, every time you watch it, it's a big powder keg of just things waiting to be ignited. And I was pleasantly entertained and impressed by how that powder keg process went, when I was like, all right, this is where everything starts to fall apart. And I enjoyed watching that happen. In terms of the atmosphere and tone, I think that was always a strong suit of the show. The show did a good job of that. There's advanced tech. It's the near future, but really sold me on that soft dystopian feel of what just a late game capitalist society looks like, with the corporations and just how casually greedy and evil they are. And that really did a good balance of like, there's a sense of dread in this world because of just the rich humans who own everything, who will just screw you over financially in less than a heartbeat. And then also the dread of these aliens and creatures that are just waiting to pop out. And the dread of these synths that they've created, who you also kind of just know from the beginning, oh, cool, so this isn't going to work out. How's this going to hit the fan? So I think in terms of pacing, tone, all of that, I was very impressed and entertained. I didn't have any major complaints, and I think the show as a whole did a really good job of just painting that picture and that feeling. And then a side bit, the show, even though it's not always my favorite thing, I like that the show stayed consistent with its own kind of unique style. Like, and again, Brian, I might need your help with this because I can't find the words for it. But like, there'd be editing styles where you'd have the camera.
A lot of dissolves.
Is it dissolves? Is that when like they have
Yeah.
a shot, but then you see another shot start to fade into
Yes.
it? Yes, thank you,
Yeah,
Brian.
long dissolves.
Yeah,
And
but
then
like
sometimes the other shot doesn't even fully fade in, right? It's just sort of lingering in the background.
Yeah, and it feels kind of an old school way of saying these characters have intertwined problems going on. But like, I was kind of digging it. Like, it felt kind of almost retro, like the OG Aliens movie were, right? And I like that
Yeah, it
weird
was a
combo of like
throwback.
an OG filming style, but still, it didn't feel like it was ham fisted. Like, it felt stylized, but I didn't feel like I was watching something trying to purposely be too old school 80s. But I liked that it had that little stamp of uniqueness. And even though I'm not huge into like the musical choices, like in terms of I'm not gonna listen to this on my own time, I like that they stay consistent of like we're gonna end our episodes with a musical song or a rock thing, and they used good and they did a good job of just
Very
picking
James
those.
Gunn.
Yeah, it was kind of James Gunn, but maybe with a little bit more self control. And the song,
Yeah, we're only gonna do it once.
yeah, and the
And
songs,
not in the middle of the show.
yeah, not in the middle of a fight scene. And the songs were a good brief way to cap off, like with a point they're trying to make, something about kill the monster within or something like that. So it was I like that little extra, just kind of like touch of individual flavor. So that was a lot to say. I loved how they painted the picture of this world. It's probably one of my favorite parts about the show.
All right. Brian?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like Noah Hawley, the showrunner for this, like was really able to channel all these disparate parts from the whole Alien universe, right? Like he's channeling things from the original Alien, he's channeling things from some of the newer movies like Prometheus, where they get into these deeper questions of like where do we come from and like what are humans and all this kind of thing. But then was able to introduce some new stuff. I think that's part of also what made this interesting. To echo Savon, the most terrifying part of the series, maybe in some ways, is not the monsters, right? It's not the xenomorph like it usually is. It's not like the fact that people get terrorized by unknown aliens, but that the fact that what we get to see more firsthand here, maybe more than any other alien vehicle, is the terror of like corporate greed and like the tech giants, basically, manifested by Boy Cavalier and even Utani, and seeing how they operate, right, firsthand, which most alien movies, like they're in it, right? Like they're the ones who give the orders in the background and you hear about it, but they're not really as focused on. And then because this is a whole 8-episode series, right? And they just don't have the budget to be able to do a monster attack for like 75% of the movie or 75% of the show like they would in a movie. They have to pull that part back and amp up this other stuff that just features humans. And those humans in this show are out of control, right? Like the Boy Cavalier is like nuts.
Hubris
He's bringing,
incarnate.
yeah, he's telling the eyeball in a lamb to look at me because I'm the powerful one, right? And it's like I'm gonna bring the eyeball monster into my office because this new thing, like this thing is the thing I want to capitalize off of. And like I don't care what happens to these synths. They're my floor models of this new like $1 trillion idea that I'm gonna release to the world, and damn everything else, it doesn't matter. So we get to see that a lot throughout the series, and I think that added a new dimension to the Alien franchise, which was fun. Like one of the best scenes of the show, I think, was Cavalier facing off with Utani, and them trying to negotiate who gets the aliens. And Boyd's got his dirty ass bare feet both up on the table with his legs spread open and like talking smack to Utani.
Talking mad reckless.
He said, "Finders keepers."
He said, "Okay, cool."
Basically.
He straight up said, "Cool. What if I don't?"
Yeah.
He just pulled the whole, we need to do this. And he said, cool, what if I don't? And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm glad he said the quiet part out loud.
And that's basically how you expect tech giants to behave at this point. And you like it really brought to the forefront of like, what does the near future look like? Maybe it looks like that, right? Maybe it looks like these companies that just carved up the planet and they're at war with each other constantly, and that's all it is. Like, all the rest of us are just stuck in their laboratories and got to deal with the consequences.
Yeah, we're just collateral damage, right?
Yeah, and Brian, you even made a good point about the humans being the monsters, right? Wendy even has a whole speech where she talks about how she sympathizes with the aliens, right? Because they're honest and they didn't want to be brought here. And as much as they are predators to us, even though she says not us, to the humans, right? But like
to her brother,
distinction.
But
brother, he was like, "No, you're the food."
Yeah, but here's the thing.
I'm not you.
Yeah, but here's the thing. She didn't tell a lie. Not a word that left her mouth was false, and that was a very cool. Like, to your point, Brian, one of my favorite thought processes in the show is like, shit, man. I think I'm scared more of the corporations than the aliens. The aliens, I can at least avoid them, maybe, and duck them. Corporations are, what's the word I'm looking for? Ubiquitous? Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah. They're ubiquitous, and they're the ones creating all the problems that the rest of us have.
They brought them here.
Yeah. And they refuse to kill him, right? They realize what a threat they are, and they refuse. They're like, no.
Because they saw profit.
Exactly, right? We there's something here that we can do, or the leverage of some sort, and all of that is a mess. I would say, in terms of Boy Cavalier, I thought it was an interesting choice, and not necessarily the wrong choice, but interesting choice that he ended up being sort of like mustache twirling villain by the end, rather than the type of villain who thinks that they're on the good side of history, right? Or they're like the hero of the story in their own heads. It actually doesn't seem by the end that he actually sees himself as the hero. And maybe that's because he's off his meds, right? Like, by the end, he's not taking his ADHD meds and stuff. But in the beginning, you kind of get a sense of like that you could like sort of convince yourself, like he could convince himself that he's doing the right thing. He's helping people prolong their lives. Yeah, he's going to make a profit and gain power, but like he's still helping people along the way. And by the end, it's clear that like that's not never been his like thing. He literally just loves power for power, and like has always wanted to amass more and more of it and become just like this uber wealthy person, and doesn't care at all about anybody else.
Sounds pretty true to life.
I'm gonna be honest,
but like interesting that he was self-aware. To me, it was interesting that he was like self-aware that he was like that, rather than deluding himself into thinking that he was doing something, good for humanity or something.
It was like he started admitting it to all the people around him that like, it's just power and money that I'm after.
Yeah.
I felt that impression about him from the beginning though, because his whole thing was always, I'm smarter than everybody else, and I haven't had an interesting conversation, and the money stuff. I don't know. I guess to me, any idea of him having an altruistic side.
You could have went with that, and him still had this idea of like, I'm going to use my genius for like, this is what's best for the world, right? Like a Thanos idea of like, I'm the only one who can do this thing, even if nobody else would do it. And it's like, yeah, nobody else would do it because they're not mass murderers. But like,
I ain't lie to you, Pimp. When they made the sense, that to me told me what I needed to know about Boy Cavalier. I was like, oh, cool. So y'all taking dying children, putting them in robots. And then for the part afterwards when he basically said,
you're kind of a good thing, right?
No, not when afterwards he made it explicitly clear why he's telling them that they're people. I'm like, oh, cool. So we're not even stepping into the philosophical maybe if in his mind. Oh, like in my mind, I felt like Boy Cavalier established that they were just products in like episode 1 or 2 when Wendy's going through her personhood crisis. And they're like, what's the crisis? She's not a person. I'm like, oh, cool. So any idea of this being some advanced people have tech, for me, that's when it kind of went out the window. I'm like, all right, cool.
Gotcha.
So he is not at all thinking about the moral, ethical implications of putting these children into these bodies, or even thinking about the shit that can go wrong, as we see as the series goes on.
Yeah, not at all.
To me, that established, oh, cool. So he wasn't, because I wanted to have that, maybe he wants to, and I was like, oh, nah, once he just was, bruh, you can't put dying children into artificial bodies, say that they're not people, and then it's just like, oh yeah, no, I'm pretty chill. But I do 100% agree, as he didn't take his meds and the shit started to hit the fan, he got more open about it. But I felt like the unhinged, I don't give a F was kind of always there. But I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt too, Wes. I was like, it can't all be this awful, but he just...
No, he was clearly awful.
He sucks.
He killed his dad with
Yeah.
his robot butler.
But that's
And
probably
then
like
his
the
robot
least
butler
worst thing he
became his dad.
did. That's probably like
Yeah,
the least worst thing he did.
Yeah, that's just step one.
Yeah, your dad was an evil drunk who was beating people. I'm like, all right, cool. What about this other shit, bro?
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna find a weak person here. And
He
then
took
goes
the
and finds
brother. He took the brother long, and just straight up glowed it to that man. But you wouldn't guess what we
Yeah.
did with the old one. I'm like, you didn't need to say that. No one on any context would ever say that unless it was pure hubris, and that is what his character is, pure hubris.
Yeah.
I almost respect it because he's consistent.
Yeah, he's pretty interesting, like villain or terrible villain, I guess, in that sense.
Know what you're getting.
Yeah. Did you want to talk any more about like the ideas between synth, human, cyborg, and like the relationships between all of these like sort of strata, like, and how they sort of lined up? It actually felt like it didn't actually end up being that important, like the difference between a cyborg versus a synth versus, like, I don't know, all the things they said in that first opening crawl. I felt like that actually sort of that storyline didn't turn out as much, and it just ended up being like the kids versus, like, and versus humans sort of in the end. But I don't know. Did
they
you want to
were
comment more on it?
They're all the synths, right? They're not just the kids.
Yeah, but like Moro
the
being
synths.
a cyborg, and then Kirsch being sort of a different type of, I don't know what he would be called.
He's just straight up.
Maybe
He's just a
cyborg.
robot. He's an android. He's not human at
Okay.
all.
Yeah, and
Well,
so like,
he's a synth. Excuse me. The kids are the hybrids.
Yeah, they're the hybrids. He's
Oh,
a synth,
okay.
and then Moro
So,
was
like,
a cyborg.
but like they didn't really explore. I felt like by the end they didn't really explore the difference between those three. It was more just, you have the humans and the capitalists, like Cavalier and Yutani, and then you have like the robots who are being controlled by them. And
Respectfully
that
disagree,
Yeah,
human.
I don't know, Wes.
Okay.
I don't know if I agree with that one.
Tell me more about like what you
Like,
felt
that was
the
definitely-
commentary was
That was
there.
a key thing. They talk about that
Yeah.
in depth for all three of them. There's entire scenes dedicated to how the world through the lens of a cyborg, android, and hybrid. Like, I think those three characters, they did a great job of distinguishing how they're different, how their problems are different, and how they kind of all end up in slightly different places. But Brian,
Yeah,
do you
for,
want
like-
to take that one?
Yeah.
But in
Just-
some ways, they
just to
all
break
end
it
up just
down.
being subjugates of humans, right? Or of Boy Cavalier.
Well,
at
not
least.
really.
Well, not at all. Not by the
because
end.
Not how,
Well,
no,
no,
it's-
really.
but those are the kids, right? The kids. That's what I'm saying. It ends up really just
They're
being
the
kids,
hybrids.
the hybrids
they're
being
hybrids,
differentiated
right?
from.
And the hybrids are the ones who are saying through the course of the season, they're coming to terms with the fact that they are not human,
Right.
and they are also not synth, right? That they occupy something different. They don't even understand fully what it is that they are. They no
And what
longer
powers they
even
have, right?
identify. They stop identifying with who they were as well, right?
yeah.
Like there's a distinction between Wendy and Marcy that happens, and Wendy is like now saying I am this other thing, right? Like she stops relating to her own human brother because she knows, she's suddenly acknowledging that she is quite different.
Yeah.
And what Savon mentioned, right? That she starts identifying with the xenomorph instead.
Yeah. She's like, I'm a monster.
No, not that she's a
Um,
monster, but she recognizes that, like,
No, doesn't
Like-
she call herself? She's like, we need to be the monsters.
well,
she's
you know,
saying they should be scared of us
Yeah, she's
because
saying-
we're the most powerful beings
Right.
here.
yeah,
Right?
Yes.
That's what she's saying. That we're actually
Yeah, I thought they did a
more
great job
omnipotent
explaining
than all
or
of them.
showing us the hybrids and how their journey, right, and their differences and like what it means to be hybrid and like their certain peril. I just meant like the differentiation between the synths, the cyborgs, and the.
I mean, I think that also
hybrids.
comes into play too, especially
Absolutely.
like Kirsch and Morrow
have a
have a
whole
fight,
thing.
right?
They have
Like
a whole
they have a
conversation.
where they're like kind of taunting each other, like Morrow's saying, like, don't you wish you were a cyborg? Like, it's better to be to be an enhanced human rather than a fully synthetic
Completely
robot who actually, and they kind of talk about this a little bit, right? Like, who doesn't have a lot of agency. They're not able to openly criticize Cavalier, right? Their owner, their programmer, and have to adhere to things in a difficult way. And I think you get a lot of that with Kirsch, who often disagrees with what Cavalier is doing, who thinks that I think it's implied that he thinks synths are better, right? But he's unable to kind of act on a lot of these things. He's still
He's a
stuck in a
robot.
role of obeying orders.
He's a robot.
And I think that's the key distinction between him and the hybrids, right? He also
the
kind
hybrids
of
don't
wants
have to follow
to
along, right?
control the hybrids as well, and is caught off guard when they defy him. And so like this new carve out for hybrids plays an interesting role in between those two polar opposites, right?
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of add on a little bit, add on a little to that, Brian. Like, Morrow talks about, like, the still having his humanity and still being a person and still having people and connections and things that he cares about. Now, granted, he's crashing out now because he lost his daughter, but like, he was a human being who had real things that he cared about and lost, and that motivates his character in a way that Kirsch just inherently is not motivated by. Even though you have these two beings, cyborg and robot, on opposite sides who come into conflict, and beyond that, they really couldn't be more different. And yet, in another sense, couldn't be more similar because they're still ultimately tools of these corporate machines. But like, I think that's a really cool juxtaposition to see on screen of how they're both still the lap dogs, attack dogs of their respective orgs, but what they are and how they got there couldn't be more different. And then by the end of the season, they both end up in the same place because the show in Alien, right, is always about evolution and growth. And there's a real irony to, I think, Kirsch's conversation in the start of the show, Brian, if you recall, where he tells the sense, remember, y'all used to be prey, and talks about how humans used to be prey, and then they got comfortable. And he's kind of giving them like a little bit of almost a pep talk of like, hey, you're not humans anymore. Let go of that fear shit, bro. You something different. And it boomerangs around in a really crazy way of like, all right, man, well, it happened.
Yeah.
And they realize they don't need you either. But in terms of the philosophy of whether they're human, all that stuff, I actually like that the show didn't leave it up to us to figure it out. Normally for these types of shows, they'll leave it ambiguous and they'll say, well, the viewer can decide how they feel about this. Because when me and Tony were watching, I was saying, do we consider them human or not? What's the line? Maybe when you get down to it, they're not. But there's still that cool philosophical conversation, right, of personhood, the soul, if you believe into that sort of thing. Was it a transfer? Was it a copy? Because I feel like a transfer versus a copy are two inherently different, like, ways of conceptualizing. There's a lot of really heady stuff you can get into, and I like that you can do that early in the series. But I think I was pleasantly surprised to watch the hybrids all go on their own individual journeys of reckoning what they are, and even though they all end up in a similar place, their journeys to get there were drastically different. And I think it was cool because it again shows just how they are something different, and their individual personalities from their previous lives influence them and all of that. But also, it also just shows how bad of an idea this all was, because some of the journeys to them getting to that is a really shitty journey. Like Nibs getting her mind wiped and having a whole, like, her mind's rejecting it, right? Because she's realizing I'm not flesh and blood. So she has the whole pregnancy thing and all that to, because she's rejecting the idea. But then you have the other one who wants to be Cavalier's favorite, and she's really, really smart, and she's already pushing back of like, well, I want to use. They all have different. Some of them care about their old lives. Some of them want to move on. Some of them question the new names. All that. They don't do the same thing at the same time. But I like that they had but they all end up seeing their various graves, and I thought it was cool that they got to figure that out on their own. And so by the end, it's not us saying, oh, there's something different and they don't realize it. They kind of say it to us like, hey, man, me as a viewer, I actually start to feel less bad for them because they're less attached to this. They're figuring it out on their own of like, all right, man, at least you're not being held back by the existential dread of being a dying child and not being sure what you are now, plus all the boy Cavalier shit. But that was probably my favorite part of the show. And the fact that Wendy could relate to the aliens, not because they're monsters, but because they're also stripped of agency and subjected to the lies and manipulations of these humans who only see them as products. And I'm like, you're not wrong. Like, I do not approve of you sicking xenomorphs on people and having a pet one. Let me be very clear. But the humans did not.
Wasn't there two by the end?
Yes. But the humans,
Yes.
did zero
Freaky.
favors of proving her wrong, of like not trusting people and all that. I'm like, man, shit.
Her brother betrayed her,
Now,
quote unquote.
this she kind of pissed me off. I was like, okay, life is complicated and gray, but it was interesting because she was certain parts she was on the money right. Other parts I'm like, oh, you're still a child, you're wrong. But I thought that whole process through the 8 episodes was cool as hell to see, and I'm very happy with how it ended up going.
Yeah, he just stunned Nibs. He didn't permanently damage her.
Yeah,
He
but
just incapacitated her.
yeah, but you know, Wendy's in a different, like, she's
Yeah,
going
Wendy
through.
was like, nah,
she's figuring out a
you're
lot
with
of
us
shit.
or against us.
Yeah, but you know, but when you think about her experiences, it puts them in a tricky place. Like, I think she's wrong, but I get why she feels that way. But I think that's good writing, man. Like, that's good. Like, shit. I was watching it like, oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah, right. Because I mean, the whole thing, right? Or by the end is just like, had the synths or had the hybrids, had the kids been raised in a different environment that was actually caring for them, they wouldn't have turned out in such a such a malicious thing by the end, right? Because they would have had they would have had their own agency, right? They would have had the ability to like have more choices and to be cared for and to feel safe and not feel like, well, it's us or them, right? Like, you can have more of a collectivism at that point or more of a community at that point. But like, because of them being brought up in this particular environment, right, with this particular like asshole leading the way, it was inevitable, right, in some sense, that they turn into the monsters, because that was the only way they could be. That's the only way you could gain any power or leverage or control over your life by the end. It became clear that it was like through violence and through like the elimination of other people or whatever. So like, right, in that way, it's like, oh yeah, Boy Cavalier and the group, right, like they reap what they sowed at that point. And I think that was like obviously to me that was one of like the main themes that you sort of get by the end too.
Yeah, it was a dumb idea from the bounce. It was really on some Jurassic Park shit of like, yes, a lot of poor decisions were made that led to this falling apart, but the poorest decision of all was doing this in the first place. Like,
yeah,
like,
that's the hubris part.
Yeah, the real part is just like,
just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, and it's just like, cool, man, because you're right, Wes. But I think there was when you do what they did in episode 1 of take dying children and putting them into robot bodies for ultimately a tech product, that alone set the motions of like, okay, cool.
Right.
This is gonna go. No amount of guardrails in the world will stop such an inherently stupid idea from going off the rails. That's why it's Alien, right? You're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, in the way that they did it, but I could imagine, right? Like, you could build a movie or a story around this idea and have it try to be something that was good in the beginning, right? Like, that was actually for patients, for families to like hold them together in some way, because no one wants to lose their kid, right? Like, I mean, that's an obvious sort of statement. So let's keep going. The characters, the relationships that were sort of built, was any of them did you feel like any of them were like strongly developed that you were like really bought into? And were there any that you just kind of fell by the wayside? I actually felt like the relationship between Wendy and her brother, I don't know, in some ways, like, it got a lot of screen time and it was like clear that they were both struggling with what it was and like how it was going. And in sort of, I don't know, by the end, it sort of was like the most uninteresting relationship that I was hoping for so much more. And I don't know why, but it felt like there was so much meat on the bone there because of how Wendy was herself but wasn't herself, right? Was Marcy but wasn't Marcy. That there could have been just so much more that came up out of that. But I guess because it's, a show where there's also xenomorphs running around and there's so many other characters, you sort of kind of end up in a meh place, and the brother maybe is a little bit kind of, he could just be more interesting, I think, as a person. I did think, though, that the relationships among the kids ended up being more interesting by the end. And it'll be interesting to see if they get a season 2, like whether that camaraderie sticks together, because they're actually pretty different. You can tell they're pretty different in terms of their values and their upbringings and stuff, and whether this was just a marriage of convenience and circumstance or whether they actually can form some sort of cohesive, like, found family. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think to be very brutally honest, I don't think the show stuck the landing. Like the season finale left a lot of things feeling kind of like, oh, like very underwhelmed.
Too many cliffhangers
Very
for you?
underwhelmed.
That's what she said.
I mean, it happens. Come on, it happens to everyone.
I want you to know I'm looking at you. I know you can't convey it through the camera. I'm looking at you, Wes. I'm making a face at you.
Disapproval. Disappointment on Savon's face right
now. So, like, I think, like, the show is building up to to the powder keg moments, and I feel like didn't actually quite deliver as strongly as it was trying to telegraph in previous episodes. So, when I think I agree with you, Wendy and her brother actually probably throughout the whole series, maybe one of the weaker plot threads and relationships. But I also think Nibs and the woman handler who also functions as like a therapist and
Dame Sylvia.
and
I actually
other
really liked
things.
her arc.
I mean, they like just like this idea of like Nibs thinking she's pregnant and then she gets her memory wiped and then at the end she just like attacks that woman and then holds her hostage, right? Like it didn't really get fully explored. And then another one of the big ones really is the tete-a-tete between Kirst and Morrow, who Moro's coming to the island with big guns, and like Kirst is actually tracking his movements the entire time. He's very well aware of what Moro's up to and entraps him, right? And then they end up having that fight inside the lab, which was kind of not a great fight, like between a cyborg and a synth. Like you would imagine it just to be a lot bigger and more momentous. But like, Moro gets him in the back and like
I liked it. Yeah,
throws him through a table,
him.
and then they get interrupted by the kids. And like that just didn't seem like it served two of the best characters of the show all that well, right? Like and then like
they're you a little bit.
What's that?
Did you feel like they got undercut a little bit? Like they've been built?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're having their big climax that we've hinted at because they exchanging words. So you're like, oh, they talking shit to each other in the little meeting.
Absolutely.
Saying, oh, they're gonna get busy later, and then you're like, oh,
the
cool.
Whole season.
And then the showdown just gets interrupted by the hybrids are rebelling.
But yeah, the hybrids break it up, and they don't really show it. They're just like the kids looking down at them on the floor. Kirst has some white blood coming out of him, and that was kind of it. And they, the show didn't really get to have the explosive moment that they were leading us up towards. And I think there was kind of like a lot of that going on in the season finale. And then just like going back to Wendy and her brother, right? Like, yeah, it's like when Wendy's off doing some weird stuff that doesn't really get explained very well, and you're just meant to go along with it, right? And sweeps everything. It allows the show to sweep everything under the rug by just saying like, oh yeah, when like Wendy is fully realized now, and that's it, and like just takes over. And that was kind of the finale, and so I think it leaves a lot of these ideas and arcs feeling a little undercooked by the end of it.
An extra episode probably wouldn't have hurt. I can see why someone wouldn't be the biggest fan of it, like ending on like a cliffhanger essentially, which is like, cool, I need a season 2 right now because I need some sense of like, all right.
Okay.
But it kind of wasn't a cliffhanger at the same time.
I thought it was a cliffhanger. Like I thought
they were
it was
in
100%.
charge. They imprisoned everybody. They took control of the island. They have the xenomorphs. That's it. Yeah. Right? Like
no, because people still attacking the island though, right? Because like you still got Yutani is still full on assaulting the island. You still have the corpse of that doctor that the eye alien took over. You still haven't made it clear, okay, are y'all just going to lock them up or are you going to kill them? Like, I actually agree with you in that some of the ideas could have been cooked a little bit longer because I think this show, like most of these shows, would benefit from, 10 episodes instead of this 8. 8 is such a tight number. I agree with you on that, Brian, but I also feel that what emphasized that more was that a bunch of plot threads were left unresolved that I was kind of expecting there to be resolved. Like for me, the big one was like the eye alien. That's clearly been one of the cooler new additions of the series. And I don't necessarily have a problem that, okay, we're going to get more of it. But the cliffhanger on that did leave me a little frustrated. Only because the alien's so effing cool that I want more of
Yeah.
it. Like,
And they teased it so much,
and that,
right?
and
They
that was
teased
like,
it by like Cavalier's gonna put it into a human body and like gonna see what happens, and then
I really wanted that in
the
season
kids
one.
ruin it.
Yeah, I really wanted that in season one, where it was something like that. I agree with you. We could have used an extra episode. I think that would have helped with some of the how you felt about some of the plot threads in the end, because maybe you could have gotten a little more meat in the bones between that, between episodes 8 and 9 wrapping up. I know 8's the end, but like if you had a 9. I know y'all both have been talking about Wendy and the brother. I agree, they're not my most favorite interesting plot line, but I recognize the importance it is of driving the narrative forward in that Wendy is clearly the hybrid to lead them all. And the way her relationship with her brother evolves, even though, again, they're not my favorite scenes, but I recognize that it's important in that that's the key of her journey into realizing she's something different. And then that kind of spurring everything else that happens, right? Because we knew from the beginning that Lucy had crazy access to all of their tech systems. They established that in episode 1, that she's in all their shit because she was watching their brother through the cameras. And the theme throughout the show has been that the Synths were always super powerful and capable and dangerous. It was just about taking those mental locks, those mental training wheels off them that kind of kept them so docile, right? Like Wes, I saw you saw the question of like, oh, is Wendy OP? And I'm like, she is once she realizes that she's not a child anymore. But we also watched Slightly and Smee get arrested by a bunch of goons who they could have absolutely have wrecked them because they still have the minds of children and don't realize, their power.
Right.
So
Right.
I think the brother and Wendy and her brother's relationship was important in terms of pushing the plot forward, and I recognize that. But I agree that it wasn't my favorite. My favorite kind of ended up, I didn't think it'd be it, but it ended up being Smee and Slightly a little bit, of watching Smee going from the really annoying, childish one to that hostage situation, making him have to, start to rebel and ask about he wanting his family. And I like that his whole thing, and then his relationship with Slightly. I don't know. I ended up being a big fan of their whole bit and them kind of being forced to grow up kind of fast. And I don't know. I like also, I'm kind of with you, Brian. Where all the synths ended up being the hybrids. Sorry, all the hybrids ended up being just really engaging to watch because you feel bad for them, and they're
Yeah.
clearly
Feel bad
victims.
for Isaac.
Yeah, you feel bad for. Oh man, Isaac got the shortest end of the stick, man. That was some bullshit. I was rocking with Isaac. He was having some of the least body image and mental issues of all of them. He was like, all right, science.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right,
I could
bet.
do
He was
that.
on his
I like
way.
And he was
science,
doing
yeah.
that shit. He didn't get
He-
killed by the
he was-
one monster that could kill them. I'm like, ain't
He
that,
was on the wrong show. He should have been Star Trek.
bro? I was like, oh man. But ultimately, the hybrids are my favorite because you feel bad for them. They're victims, and it's interesting just to watch them all figure out what the hell this means on their own, despite all the awful folks around them. And it ended up making for just intriguing television.
Can we talk about Wendy being OP
Yeah.
for a moment? Like it was kind of too much though, wasn't it? Like
Too much.
yes, I agree that the hybrids are advanced beings, right? They're super strong. They have advanced physical capabilities, but she demonstrated all these other capabilities that the other hybrids didn't demonstrate at all, right? And like she's able to communicate with the xenomorphs, not only communicate with them, but get them to do her bidding, right? To be her lapdogs. And then she's able to not only manipulate all the camera systems, the communication systems, but then ultimately in the final episode suddenly has the ability to like flip switches with her synth brain somehow. Like
And
like,
freeze,
what is going
and
on?
freeze another synth.
So
And freeze another synth. Yeah. She has power over other synths as well. Like, and we're just supposed to accept that all of a sudden she has all these abilities that enable them to take over the island.
well, she could do what they established in
the
episode
show
1.
needed to give us more.
But they established
They
that
needed to give
episode
us
1, though,
more.
didn't they? Like, I wanted to be frustrated about that, but then I felt like, they fully explained that she could do this in episode 1. But I think this goes back to the whole science hubris thing of they underestimated her and didn't think about how dangerous that shit would be. Because, okay, this is how I see it. I'm not trying to like defend it fully, but like it didn't really bother me, and this was my mentality. I said it earlier. In episode 1, they established and they knew, oh, she has access to all of our systems. They recognize that they have supercomputer brains. Like they even established, hey man, you have a supercomputer brain. If you decide, you can learn anything in an instant. So we've already established that like they're next level smart. It's just the emotional maturity that's stopping them from being dangerous, and that's kind of what the people are preying on. But like we know from the beginning, she's observing her brother. She's hacking our cameras. She's doing all this stuff. Like she was integrated into their systems in episode 1, and they were fully aware. In fact, they purposely said let her because they wanted to kind of go full guinea pig mode and see, hey, how is she gonna follow after the brother? And they manipulated it. So yes, she's OP, but also Boy Cavalier and them and Prodigy facilitated making her OP because they were using her as a guinea pig for their whole thing. They let her have access into all their systems, didn't push back because they wanted to see how she observed the brother, figured she's so emotionally immature that it's not going to be a real problem. And then once it became a real problem, keep in mind, they made it worse. They encouraged her to communicate with the alien. When weird shit was happening, they didn't say, okay, let's cut her off. They said, all right, let's put her in the thick of it and get her to talk and communicate to it. They grew an effing xenomorph, intentionally put her around it, and watched them bond and form a relationship that they actively facilitated because they wanted to communicate. So, like, yes, you could say Wendy's OP, but like, it's not like she just woke up and was magically OP. They all the humans of the series, which fits perfectly in line of the whole hubris shit, actively created that problem. She didn't find a xenomorph and start talking to it and decide I'm gonna hack the systems to do all this shit. She was obsessed with her brother that they kept dangling as a carrot in front of her. Then they used her brother's lung to create a xenomorph that they then had her bond with, encouraged her to talk to it. Are we surprised that all that other shit happened when they gave her unfettered access to all this stuff? And like, this is the classic thing that happens in every AI story. They underestimate the AI. They don't think, oh, it's going to be a real danger for whatever it is. And they realize, hey, man, you let this MF get all your systems, and now the guardrails aren't there. And like, I feel like this happens in all these types of stories. And I don't feel like they pulled it out their ass. Like, now maybe you could argue the extent to which she could do it felt like a bit much, but they have these new technology supercomputer people. Like the idea that an AI can hack and run a whole thing isn't the most out there. Like that's not the most ridiculous thing we've seen in fiction when it comes to what AIs can do.
I think the issue is that there's a distinction between the reasoning behind it, right? Sure, they establish a reasoning. But then there's the storytelling side of it, which is like they took Wendy's character who had like maybe 30% abilities episodes 1 through 7 and then went to like 150% abilities in episode 8. And I think that big jump is what made it so jarring and just made it feel in that particular episode, all that stuff coming out to facilitate the ending of the season basically felt very convenient.
So maybe that is a pacing
like
issue.
It's too neat. It's like, okay, she could look at cameras before, but now all of a sudden she's shutting off other synths in the final episode when they need to wrap all this stuff up.
Okay, so you just want more buildup of the powers.
That was like a big problem of the episode.
Okay, so less the ability and explanation, more so just how you introduced it and built up.
Yeah, how did we get there?
Okay,
how did we get there?
Okay,
right?
I guess in my mind,
I think that's a big part of it.
Okay, I guess in my mind, it was a will over skill of like her being supercomputer. She probably always had that capability, but the events that happened and the shit that's made her kind of get disillusioned made her say, you know what, actually, I'm gonna full send it a little bit more. But yeah, that was how I saw it. Of like it's will. She always had the skill, just never the will or the interest. But I understand the critique that, regardless of that, of why she can do it, the way it was introduced felt like they ramped it up too quickly and it felt jarring. And I can like, okay, I understand that critique whiplash wise. I can see looking back, I'm like, I get why she could do those things, but I could see how the escalation of what we seeing her apply it felt sudden. And maybe you want a scene of her exploring more of what she can do as shit starts to get a little ugly. But that's a fair critique, Brian. Like, I don't fully agree. I get where you're coming from.
I think the other part that I would say, because I'm more on Brian's side on this. But I do appreciate that you pointed out that, like, yeah, they did establish that she was going to be able to do some of this stuff. So it's like, yeah, I think that's true. I think what it feels like a little bit in that last episode, not like overly so. It didn't like ruin it for me. It just felt like a little bit. It was like, now the synths or the hybrids are kind of playing this on easy mode. Like, right, everything they're doing now is kind of working. Like, there were no mistakes,
obstacles.
There were no missteps anymore. Like, it was like they're still kids, they're still learning, right? Like, even if they had all these powers, they should have still like had mess ups where things went wrong, or like their plans got kind of, junked up a little bit, and like ultimately by, in episode 8, like really nothing goes wrong for them.
Once Lucy decides to break bad. Yeah, once Lucy decides, all right, man, F this, you're right.
Wendy?
They're kind of.
You mean Wendy?
I said Lucy?
Who's Lucy?
Sorry.
Which one's Lucy?
Sorry, different. I don't get
Lucy is Scarlett Johansson when she empowers her mind to go full OP.
Yeah,
right?
no. That's fair.
Lucy,
that part I agree with. I was hoping that the adults would have a little bit more of a contingency plan of like, I don't mind the hybrid still coming out on top because they low key should. Like, look at them, they're ridiculous. But I don't disagree that a little bit more resistance, or a little bit more of maybe one of them gets hurt in the process in like an actual fight, or things going ass up, not just Isaac in a lab accident.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. And you know what? They'll probably have them making more missteps when we get a season 2. But I agree that would have been nice for season 1. I agree with, like, you know what? So maybe earlier we talked about the pacing. Maybe the pacing wasn't as strong towards the end. Like, maybe the atmosphere was good, but maybe in the last episode or 2, it felt like we got a penultimate episode, but not quite an ultimate.
Yeah,
maybe
that's how I feel.
Like, we got that second to last.
We got the ultimate, but not the penultimate.
Yeah, it's like I feel like we got one of those. Like, most of these shows, the last 2 episodes is like one. It's usually like the second to last is a big pop off, and then the last one is like the aftermath, setting up for the next season, or it's the second one is setting up a bunch of stuff, and then the last one is a big pop off,
knocks it all down.
But it feels like for this we didn't quite get both.
Yeah,
and
it was very in between.
Like, I thought we were gonna get a war for the island, and I'm like, oh, cool. So we're just all these helicopters flying in, and we're just like, next season. I'm like, oh, okay.
I wanted the eyeball in Boy Cavalier.
I wanted the eyeball in somebody.
They're totally teasing that.
I wanted the eyeball in somebody that wasn't a corpse. But
yeah, seriously. But I mean, actually, we did see the eyeball in the engineer in episode 5 when they did the flashback episode on the spaceship.
Yeah.
And we know it attacked the xenomorph.
Yeah, we know they're not on the same side because they all just like they're all just wild animals. It really is just a zoo collection.
But it didn't seem like the most intelligent. So
we know it's smart though.
It was kind of interesting.
The pie thing, right? Yeah, it knows pie. Like, but also it was fighting an alien.
When it was in the when it was inhabiting a human body, like the human body was just acting like a zombie.
Yeah, but I guess there wasn't being smart wasn't gonna help in that situation. You in a room with a xenomorph. Being smart. What do you say?
Let's sit down and talk about this.
He said, "Meet puppet, go." That's actually, honestly,
jump on his back.
Honestly, recognizing that was the smart area, I'm like, you know what, man? Considering your situation, hey, say what you want. I've never seen an alien actually like, get it off me, get it off me. That's what it was doing. It was the alien was doing the whole like, it's on me. So it was nice. Like, yeah, how's it feel? Doesn't feel so good, does it? No, but I hear those critiques on y'all. In hindsight, now that I think about it more, like, yes, they established that she was OP with the integration to the systems, but it does feel like maybe they ramped it up a little too quickly once the plot just called for it. I think that's a fair critique.
All right. I want to move on to some of our later questions. In terms of like standout moments for you, I texted the guys and I was like, I literally had a jump scare in episode 7. So I don't know if you guys remember this, but Smee and Smiley are trying to carry Arthur's body with the face hugger attached to him through the jungle to get to the rendezvous point with Morrow. And they run into some soldiers, so they like hide in the bushes. They put Arthur down on the ground, and then they hide. And then as soon as the soldiers pass, they go back to collect Arthur's body, and his body isn't fucking there. We're like, what the fuck? Like, where did it go? Did he wake up or whatever? And then Arthur shows up, which is like scary enough in his own, and he doesn't have the face hugger attached to him anymore. And he's like, hey guys, what's going on? And then the face hugger fucking drops out of the sky or the tree or something and like hits one of them on the shoe or in the face or something. I was watching on my phone, and so I have my AirPods in, and I like literally jumped because like they did a little scream with it too. It went like ee! when it happened. Oh my god, that moment!
But the face hugger was dead already.
You're watching Alien Earth on your phone.
Well, yeah, but
That's
you don't
all I
know it because it
heard.
just falls out of the sky and hits one of them in the head, so you don't know that it's.
What
like,
else is he gonna do when he's proctoring exam?
so that moment,
Nah, that
but
was scary.
I wanted to point out the just the face hugger being attached to Arthur and you getting to see it. I don't know that I've ever seen an Alien, because I don't really watch the Alien series. I don't know that I've ever seen it like happen. And so to see the just like the clamping on part and then it's like pulsing like in after that. Oh man, that was so disgusting. And Arthur's like, like that. I don't know. That was probably the most visually like impression thing that I saw this entire season. So I want to see, did you guys have anything that stuck out to you visually, or it doesn't have to be visually, just scene wise, action wise, whatever, kind of ingrained in your or imprinted in your memory? Brian?
Individual moments, maybe not exactly. I mean, there's so many from the show, but I think for me the real standout was episode 5, which is the flashback episode.
Was it the little critters in the water
episode? Yeah, the terrible scientist who's eating in the lab. Like, that entire crew was so incompetent and just doing the dumbest stuff possible. And I understand like viewers were angry about it, but I was, in my mind, it's just like, yeah, these are the people who are stuck on 65-year expeditions, like the most desperate people, basically, right? Like the guy, there's like a recovering drug addict, there's the scientist who's not a very good scientist, and who has open containers by the aliens. Not only the open container of her food and stuff, but the open container that is containing the alien that we know nothing about. Oh my God. And then the guy eats it later at the lunch table.
He drinks the water.
He drinks the water.
He drinks the water. He drinks. Oh, right.
That
someone else was about to eat the sandwich,
the
but they moved it out.
Yeah.
And then they do the surgery on that same guy and try to remove the bugs, and they release the toxin. Like, oh my God, that whole episode
bad to worse.
I love that episode. I love that episode.
So fun. It was like the best throwback to the original Alien. But then you get the whole detective thing happening with Morrow trying to figure out what's going on. That truly, to me, was actually maybe for me the high point of the season, where and part of what made, to me, the finale kind of underwhelming was just like knowing where they got to in episode 5, and then like just not being able to build on that level of entertainment again, or rather surpass that level of entertainment for the finale.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's I mean, now that you're saying that, I'm reminded that it was the captain that basically sabotaged the whole thing, right?
No, it was one of the.
He wasn't the captain.
Oh, not the captain.
It was
okay,
just,
so
it
one
was
of
just
the
like it was just a random engineer dude who just was unhappy
like, how
with
do the situation. And we didn't get any more of that, like that sabotage, that like espionage, or like that infighting between the two of them anymore. Like Yutani didn't have an insider on Cavalier's side, or some of that stuff. Anyways, keep going.
Just Morrow going after it.
Yeah.
The one thing I do want to mention is that we didn't get any explanation for Tang, the dude on the ship who kept staring at the woman.
We did
in cryo sleep.
Here's the explanation. Right? He's an effing creep. He was a red herring of like, oh, he's a creep.
Huge red herring.
He has to be the one who's the blatantly, openly creepy one has to be the one who sabotaged the ship. Because that's what it feels like. And actually, no, it's just some dude who was unhappy with the pay wage system and was like, you know what, man, F y'all. Yeah. Which is probably the most realistic part of all this.
At these women sleeping.
Like, turns out it's not the boat creep. It's the dude who's underpaid, who doesn't like the system. And I'm like...
Well, also the most vulnerable, right? Like, you could be paid off. He could be paid off, right? And think that, like, okay, yeah, my people are going to be taken care of now. Like, there's something in it for me. I don't have any loyalty to these people.
And a little bit of revenge, too, of like, man, F y'all. Y'all got me paying all these people. Because he even says, right? People die. Because they got part of it's also revenge.
That's not what I signed up for.
Yeah, and he said people died trying to get all the tech stuff. So some of it also kind of like a critique of the whole system of, hey, man, the sabotage only happened because y'all do such abusively
things.
awful business practices that people feel like, you know what, man, F y'all. So like, all of
the only
this
thing I can do at this point is violence, right? Like I don't have any other power.
Yeah, so like even with Boy Cavalier and them, it's like, yeah, Boy instigated the whole sabotaging of the ship and all that, but it was still Yatari and them Waylon and them who was like, okay, but y'all sent them on this death mission and people died for it. Don't be surprised if they don't have the highest opinion of y'all. Like turns out if you're a really shitty employer, your employees aren't gonna rock with you, and that can blow up in your face in in very dramatic ways. But I want
wait. Give us your moment.
So many moments.
Did you have one?
For me, yes. For me, in terms of scare, any scene with Nibs made me viscerally uncomfortable because once
she was an uncomfortable actor. That was awesome.
I did not like.
Me neither. All her scenes, like the alien. Okay, here's what it was: the alien scenes. You know what to expect. You know that these aliens are hunters. They're basically animals. They're doing
Why are they drooling all the time, though? I don't get
psychological fear. I don't know. Some of them. Shut up. Stop. Are you asking why the aliens drew? Because the shit's scary, that's why. But
it's a little comical.
No, for me, anything with Nibs, because with the aliens, they're monsters, they're hunters, they do what a bear or a tiger would do in a room full of meat or something. They go to work, right, and they tear it apart. But Nibs, it was scary because I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, oh my God. She's having a breakdown because she realizes that she's not biological. She's coping with the pregnant thing. But okay, cool. That's already creepy. But now when she's confronted with it, she reacts violently.
Yeah.
But the synths, of course, have insane strength and durability. So it's not just a little casual, okay, she's a little dangerous. It's super, super dangerous. And for me, that just made her so uncomfortable because I'm like, oh, this poor child's body is rejecting this procedure they've done to her. She's essentially having this mental illness and psychosis that is 100% the fault of her handlers. And there's nothing she can do about it. And
the eyeball monster.
What about it?
Yeah,
like that kind of triggers it.
But the whole point is that. But again, it all goes back to. But
they sent her into that situation.
Yeah, the whole point is y'all shouldn't have created her in the first place. Y'all shouldn't have sent her into that ship in the first place. So it's like she was set up to fail in every sense of the word. But for me, it was the fact that she was unhinged and was aware of her strength. And I think that was the scariest thing because her and like Smee, for example, have the same strength and abilities. Smee is so mentally caged in as a child that he's not a danger to anybody. And then you have her who's like, oh, cool, she will lash out and kill you, has done it to where they locked her in the room. And that just made me so scared because I was like, oh boy. The aliens I can predict. The synths or the hybrid you cannot predict, and that's what scares me. And I think that was well founded.
Yeah.
Well, she wasn't being reckless. They wiped. There was a.
Oh no, I'm not blaming her. I'm just saying, like, in the situation, she was just like super unpredictable and like she ripped that guy's jaw off.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, took his larynx with her.
Exactly, exactly. That's what scared me because y'all done broken this girl's mind down to the point where you just have
no feelings about it either.
Yeah, you have a killer robot, and you know it was just like she was just the worst. She scared me the most because she was the worst case scenario of like, oh, cool. So this is what y'all doing. All right, cool. Yeah. In the back of my mind, in the start of the series, I was like, oh, cool. So what ended up being Nibs was my worst case scenario of what could happen. And watching that happen was like, okay, well, this is,
y'all brought this on yourself.
This is going to go ass up.
Yeah.
It did.
I said earlier, I like Dame Sylvia's kind of arc of like, she does seem kind of like a mother figure. She does seem like she cares. And then the show points out through a couple different interactions that like, actually you've been like a bad person this whole time. And you've just been trying to tell yourself that you're a good person, you know, like kind of what I was telling you, like Boy Cavalier kind of could have been maybe, but they put it on her.
Yeah. She was definitely that character.
That was cool. Yeah. And it was cool. There was like, oh, like you have to come to terms with the fact that you're also a bad person and everybody else is coming to that conclusion around you. And that was cool. It was like, oh, like you probably came here for some good reasons and you're like, your own ambition, your own ego, your own whatever took over and it blinded you to the fact that you were actually doing something pretty heinous here.
I mean, at a certain point, they stopped sugarcoating and just straight up saying, hey, man, y'all like, because their husband at one point is like, okay, what is it? Best case scenario, worst case scenario, we kill 6 kids. Best case scenario, we create a bunch of AIs that think that they're people, which is 2 awful scenarios. Both are terrible. But by the end, they start it just saying, hey, man, nah, you just killed 6 kids. They kind of stopped sugarcoating it. Like, the show abandons a lot of some of the philosophy stuff and just says, nah, man, actually, there's no sugarcoating it. When they made these things, they killed those kids in that process. And you should feel shitty about them, and they should feel shitty about themselves. We're not gonna. They didn't leave that up in the air for interpretation. Like, I think, so yeah,
Wild
man.
that she just let her husband take the fall and was like, "No, I got it. I'm gonna do this."
Yeah, but I mean, that's
there
what's
wasn't
scary
a lot
about
of fallout from that.
the fallout is that they got locked up and the husband died. But also, there's
no, from her side, like she didn't. There's like no conversation about her husband leaving or anything.
Well, the
like
coercion.
That.
Well,
and it made me wonder about like what is the true nature of their relationship. She also seems like much older than he is.
Yeah,
that was true.
So there's something curious about that.
I think it's just prodigy.
I don't think it's just coincidence.
I think it's just the nature of this prodigy place is that, like, this is what happens when you're in this hostile, evil work environment where clearly having a heart isn't acceptable. Like, look, we saw what happened with the husband the moment he decided to have a backbone and a heart. They were immediately like, get the F on and we'll kill you if you're here too long. So I think some of it is just probably a mix of Dame having an attachment to them, that maybe having an attachment to the kids, but also, like, this is clearly the kind of job that you can't quit. Multiple people try to be like, all right, I want out. And they make it very clear there's no getting off this ride. The brother is pretty much forced to be in this. He has no out. Like,
yeah,
he's there. There's nothing he can do. The scientists they try and get him off. I don't know. I think it was just this is just how awful. I think that was the horror movie part of, like, sometimes you watch the movie, right, and you're like, why don't they just quit? And it's like, that's why they can't just. Like, why can't they just go home? That's why. Because Boy Cavalier is your boss, and
he's crazy.
He owns everybody.
And he pretty much says right to the brother, hey, make it clear that he's in my world. Like, it's a power play in one of the episodes. The literal Boy Cavalier knows what the F he's doing. I think that's just the human horror element of F the monster.
You can leave the island. Just give us back our lung that we gave you.
Yeah. Ugh. You can leave the island, but revoke all your security. And if you don't do it quickly, we'll shoot you. Like, the whole underlying threat of the humans and you can't quit is always just hanging around this entire show.
Yeah, but what Brian is also saying is, like, there was no conflict between the married couple. It was just like, all right, I'm out. And she was like, all right, he's leaving.
I guess to me, I felt like all of that stuff we just talked about is the undertone of, like, her not pushing back, because it's like, yo, man, we can't fight back. But I'll have to rewatch it. But
I don't know. All right.
We know he'll be back, though.
Xenomorphs? How do you guys feel about the xenomorphs in this? There's a very different interpretation.
Explain how it's different. I don't. I always laughed when they had, like, silver teeth. I was like, oh, it's like they got grills in. All right.
Well, they're different because they're under control. They're at the mercy of Wendy over here.
Would you call it at the mercy?
I mean, kind of, right? Like,
maybe mercy isn't the word, but, like,
they're at her whim.
Yeah, there we go. Right? Whim, yeah, whim is maybe.
Right? Like, they're holding off on attacking the prey, like they normally would, right? Like, usually every single thing in their path is just prey.
Oh, okay.
That's true.
And them being released into the jungle where there's tons of prey, and Wendy, I think, is at the end of episode 7. She's basically saying, like, no, you can hold off on this one for now, right?
I don't know. I was okay with it. I felt like that made it okay, but I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends. Like, we don't know yet how that relationship is, right? Like, is it a, like, owner master situation, or is it more like we're comrades here and we're actually working together to make sure that we come out on top? Like, unclear. I think where we're at on that. So I think if it's, I mean, I think either way could be an interesting story.
Let's start Old Yeller and then we'll go from there. Right now, I think they got a Lassie thing going on. We'll see how it develops. Let's just start there as the baseline. To answer your question, though, about the xenomorphs. Oh, Brian, were you about to say something?
I was just gonna say, like, I really hope it ends up more like a Siegfried and Roy situation.
Oh,
like it kind of has to be.
Aliens will turn against her,
right? Like, I mean, just to be consistent with the rest of the franchise, like, the aliens can't be controlled. I feel like that's
they can
that
be
is
controlled.
A crucial element.
They have, like, a hive mind thing going on.
Is this the first time the aliens have tried to been, like, connected to?
Well, the aliens in other movies, I know, like, they have a queen, and the queen kind of has, like, a hive mind thing where she controls, other xenomorphs and all that. Like, there's a xenomorph queen that's, like, a whole nother type of one that's this big, giant monstrosity. But, so, I don't know, it depends. Do you do the whole be you social thing where there's a queen and then a bunch of drones and they serve them? I don't know. Like, the beauty of this, Brian, is that there's so many different animal biology interpretations that they could run with or do combinations of that, like, there's no wrong answer. I think it just depends on the execution of how they do it. Like, I don't see why a xenomorph can't be a wild animal subjected to, like, the whims of their hive mind queen, but a separate one can't also just be tamed by someone who learned how to communicate with them. And maybe you don't have full control, because even Wendy at points is like, I told it this, I think. Like, so even her, there's a little bit of uncertainty, but I think, but also they established that the xenomorphs don't, like, the hybrids aren't humans, so they're not on their menu. So this could just be a changing the status quo of how those relationships work. In the movies, you've had since in conflict with the aliens, but they're trying to fight them. So it's definitely more of a versus. And we saw Wendy fighting the xenomorph in the earlier episodes, so we know that they can get into it. But I just think I kind of look at it the way you see, like, a stray dog. A stray dog could bite you, or if you hold your hand out and be nice, you can get it to chill with you. And if it doesn't see you as a food source, why can't you have this relationship? Like, honestly, my thought about the alien stuff is the xenomorphs, and I say this in a good way, were the least interesting part of the alien stuff. And that's not a knock on them, because they were great. I just thought that us having this unexplored territory with the new aliens was even cooler. Like,
yeah, we want to see more of that.
Like, xenomorph, I got everything I wanted from the xenomorph and more. Like, seeing a xenomorph, someone whistle to summon it and it hunting people down, I was like, oh god, well, this is the most terrifying shit I've ever seen. Like, cool. I loved it. Like, when she starts whistling and I'm like, oh god, this is about to be the worst thing ever, and it is. You even see the brother, like, you even see the brother, like, yo, man, you can kind of see in his mind, like, yo, man, I got attacked by one of them things. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. He's just like, oh god, you're gonna call that? Like, I'm glad that we got to see new xenomorph stuff in that sense. But the real star of the show is the new aliens, man. Besides the eyeball creature, which we could spend all day talking about, the other star of the show was that we also have those flies that can hurt the hybrids. And even a cool hypothesis of, their planet probably doesn't have meat, so they know how to absorb rock and stuff. I'm like, hey, man, that's a thing in our planet of creatures that, can live off of non-organic immediate shit. So that's not the wildest thing. I think that's been the real shifter of, like, if we get a season 2, I'm not worried about the xenomorph. I'm worried about the acid flies that are a threat to them. I'm worried about this eyeball thing that we know is smart, but we haven't had a chance to see it in a fully, a host for real, a host when it's not either a corpse or it's fighting a xenomorph. Like,
yeah, we don't know its motives at all.
And we know it's smart, which is the scariest thing. We've watched it come up with plans and strategies multiple times.
Timing.
But yeah, all of that, the shit with Isaac, and then everyone else figuring that out. But again, that's not a knock on the xenomorph, but shout out to Alien Earth for expanding the lore and giving us new aliens that I am very intrigued with. I was not interested in the eye. The eyeball was the one I cared about the least at first. And by the end, I'm like, where's that eyeball? Let it get away. Oh my God, we are screwed. I'm scared of the eyeball more than the xenomorph.
Underserved by the end.
Even
but go back to your earlier
plant thing. That was,
where we finally saw that come out.
I don't need more of that because, like, whatever, it seems like a one-trick pony.
It looks like flora presents its fauna.
Yeah,
it was like a giant, like, manta ray or something that came out and swallowed the soldier, like crazy. But to your earlier point, you mentioned the queen bee aspect of the xenomorphs. That's something I hadn't thought about, and maybe that is how the xenomorphs are perceiving Wendy.
Yeah,
like, she's talking to them, and they understand her to be the queen,
maybe
mother, and maybe that's something that's gonna happen and develop in a future season. Hopefully the show gets renewed. Hasn't yet.
We're definitely getting more, and I'm hoping that the more retroactively makes this season even better, because of certain questions we have, like, all right, cool, they built off it in a way that was like, all right, cool, I'm satisfied. But we don't get a season 2.
Catch these hands.
Yeah, there's something wrong. I mean, even Alien Romulus is getting a sequel.
Oh yeah, Prometheus got a sequel, and that movie was awful.
Prometheus was fun. it was kind of messy.
Prometheus had some of the best visuals and world building, and then just objectively awful writing. Where even
there was just some stupid stuff.
Even teenage me in the theater was like, I don't know about that one, boss. Y'all go to the place, scan the tunnels, and then somehow get lost and take your helmet off. I'm like, hey man, I don't want to be. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that. I know these movies are also hinging around people making foolish mistakes, but like,
too foolish.
There's levels. There's a difference between
not that your helmet got damaged, right? That you took it off.
Yeah, there's a difference between me leaving the stove on and me leaving the stove on, opening up the oven, and then start throwing matches at it. Like, okay, there's levels to this shit. Like,
all right. Well, I think that'll wrap us up. Did you want to rate it real quick?
I was gonna do my 10 system, but again, I have to say you've talked me out of that system. No, I don't do that system.
Grades? Well, you could do grades.
I don't like grades either. I think I gotta do the out of 5 system. I hate it, but you're right.
On a scale of Alien to Prometheus, what do you rate this? I guess that's very subjective.
I'm like,
it could be facehugger to xenomorph. It could be like what?
Oh yeah.
What stage of development are we here?
I get a show a 4.5 out of 5. Okay. The show, especially after this conversation, had some flaws, but I don't think those flaws noticeably took away from my enjoyment of the series. And I got the main things I think I would have wanted out of this show and some pleasant surprises. But when it's all said and done, me and Tony sat down. I told her, hey, we should watch this show. She caught up to episode 5, and then we watched 6, 7, 8 together. And when it's all said and done, man, I watched this shit to be entertained. I was entertained. I felt good. I felt lows. I had oh shits and oh damns. And I want a season 2. To me, that means the show did its job right. 4.5 out of 5 stars. If you're into this genre and this stuff, you should 100% watch it. I would say if you long as you're not freaked out by horror, science stuff in general, this is a great show, and I think most folks would enjoy
it. And me and you,
it wasn't like shoddily put together. You know, it's not like it's some bullshit.
Yeah. No. And me and you don't like scary horror type of movies generally, and I didn't feel like this was overwhelming in that front.
Nah, it's more like I said. The real horror is the humans putting the creatures in the lab than the like. Yeah, the creatures were scary. The fact y'all got them all in one lab is what's scarier.
Their ability to contain these organisms though was not very good.
Well, they said that the place wasn't designed to. In fairness, which I think that's actually a good writing point, is the facility they used was never designed to hold them in the first place because it fell into their lab.
That's true.
So I thought that was actually a good setup of like, oh, okay, cool. If no matter what this shit goes ass again, when you say how could we have prevented this? Thoughts in episode 1. The thing is to just do nothing.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen.
Put that on your office wall.
The moment y'all decided, okay, we're gonna put it in our lab that's not meant to hold creatures, I'm like, all right, cool. So they're gonna break out and this is gonna go ass up. All right, cool.
Of course. Yeah.
I see y'all got these
we understand.
That don't mean shit. All right.
Yeah. I am what are you doing?
That's me just like waiting for all the shit to hit the fan. Just like, all right, cool.
I don't know where I'm at on this one. Like in some ways I really did agree with Savon. Like it was entertaining. I thought like it was really well put together in terms of like production value. There were definitely some interesting characters, some really good moments. For someone who isn't familiar with the Alien franchise, I didn't feel like I was missing anything. I mean, I think having seen it, it sounds like it made it much richer, but it wasn't where I was like, wow, I don't really understand what's going on here because of, I hadn't seen previous stuff. So in terms of all of that, I think it was really good. But at the same time, I don't know that I'm like, I need a season 2. I'm kind of like, I'm kind of good on this. So in some ways that like takes it down for me. And I don't think I could go higher than like a 4. I think also it would lack a little bit of universal appeal. I don't think everybody's going to be into this just because of like the type of action it is and the type of gore that we're going to see.
Is that how you rate things? Universal appeal?
No,
it's got to be the big tent thing, and that's what makes it good.
No, I guess that's not. But I think that like is a little bit factored in here of like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, but it's more the fact that like I don't necessarily need to see a season 2. That I feel like I'm at like just below a 4. I'm like just shy of 4 stars here out of 5. Brian, where are you at?
Hard disagree, Wes.
Okay.
I don't know what Wes like. Besides Ted Lasso.
Yeah, exactly.
I love Ted Lasso. So good.
Jesus. I think this show is like a real cinematic experience in the
What
TV show
experience?
format. And you know, like, sure, there are a lot of big budget shows, but not every show delivers on that money, right? You know what I mean? Like, here
Onto
you're
the actor
getting
salaries.
you're getting the production, you're getting the cinematography, you're getting the action, and on top of that, you're getting all the really cool ideas. And I think they introduce a lot of things. They take the Alien franchise and extend it, giving us the hybrids, giving us new aliens, exploring different ways that this whole alien universe can go and expand. I think all of that is super interesting. To me, they kind of fumbled the ending, so I'm gonna knock it for that. And I think that might speak to some of the feeling that you have, Wes, about not needing another season. Like, there are different ways that they could have handled that finale, and I actually don't think it was the best one. But all said and done, I think for me this has really renewed my interest in Alien, and like to the point where like me and Anna went back and watched the original Alien. We watched Prometheus. We'll
So
probably watch all the other movies at some point, right? Like we'll watch
watch
Romulus.
Romulus, man. Romulus
Yeah, for sure.
is really good.
So I'm giving this one an 84 on the Brian scale.
Nice.
All right. Like, also, I just want to say this again. I know you kind of said this, Brian, but just want to emphasize. Episode 5 was like a little bit over an hour. We basically got an Alien movie.
We got the whole
We got an Alien movie episode. Like, that episode was basically just an Alien movie, but maybe 15, 20 minutes shorter of what a full feature length thing is, and
yeah.
That was effing sick.
And that was one of the best Alien movies ever.
Yeah, that was a great Alien movie. What? It didn't feel like you could watch that in you could watch that in theaters and be like, oh, that was like a shorter movie. And to your point,
they just
Brian,
got to do that again.
Yeah, this was, for me, I think I just love the care that was put into the show. Sometimes a show you can feel when it felt like they just rushed it and they weren't really, even for the things that you didn't always a big fan of, you can just tell people who put the show together enjoyed it and cared about doing it, and the showrunners and folks behind it were passionate, and you can just tell there was a lot of, it sounds cheesy, but like there was a lot of heart and soul put into it, and it shows. And I love shows like that where they clearly put in their best effort. They care.
Best effort. All right, friends, that'll do it for us.
Yeah, buddy.
Hit us up on social media, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. We're at confidently_pod. Check us out. We'll post this video. Let us know what you thought about Alien Earth in the comments on Instagram.
Wes, your eye look a little funny. You good?
What's wrong with my eye?
I don't know. It's looking a little like doing a little oscillating thing.
Do you know the digits of pi, Wes?
I don't. 3.1459. 1459.
All right, just making sure. I wasn't sure if the thing got you.
5929. Oh, I see. All right, friends.
That took you a while, Wes.
Laters.